high in the Andes Mountains. In 1581, miners strike a vein of silver purer than almost anything the world has ever seen. 11,000 miles away, a buyer is about to emerge who will change everything. That buyer is the Emperor of China, the most powerful man on earth. He has just ordered his entire empire to pay its taxes in silver, and that single decree is about to detonate the biggest demand for one metal the world has ever known. China has almost no silver mines of its own, so it must pull the metal in from everywhere else on the planet. Demand explodes so fast that inside China, silver actually becomes worth more than gold. Thomas, rendered in a flat, thick, black outline vector cartoon style, hard edge flat colors, no blended shading, no gradients. A simple, minimalist stickman body, warm tan skin, a flat, round, orange tan head with simple, thick black eyebrows and simple, round, black dot eyes. A navy blue fedora with a thin gold band. A navy blue three-piece suit with white shirt and navy tie. Navy blue trousers. A slim black cane with a gold tip, standing confidently and pointing his cane toward a glowing world map behind him. Before we go further, subscribe, because the next few minutes rewrite how you see money and power. This is the story of how one metal quietly built the first global economy on Earth. Style, flat, thick, black outline vector cartoon, solid flat color fills, no blended or gradient shading, no photoreal, no 3D, no painterly texture. Character identity locked to reference image. No text, no logos, no speech bubbles, no decorative border. 1920x 1080, 16:9. Fast forward 2 centuries. China now stands as the greatest economic and cultural empire on the planet, ruled by one of its most celebrated emperors, Qianlong. Qianlong builds palace after palace, convinced he is among the wealthiest men who has ever lived. For decades, he is not wrong. The whole world wants China's porcelain and silk, but China will accept payment in exactly one thing: silver. For a while, this looks like the perfect trade. But by the late 1700s, one single commodity is about to break that balance completely: tea. Britain becomes hooked. It imports more tea from China than any other nation in Europe, and 80% of every ounce leaving the port of Canton sails straight to Britain. Controlling this trade is one extraordinary organization, the British East India Company. It is not just a company, it is practically its own government. By the end of the 1700s, the company commands a private army near 90,000 strong, a fleet of armed warships, and control over huge stretches of India. But beneath all that power sits one enormous problem: Britain has almost nothing China actually wants to buy in return. So for every crate of tea Britain buys, its silver bleeds straight out of the company's coffers and into Chinese vaults. Wool fails, cotton fails, nothing sells. The advantage sits entirely with China. So in 1792, the British government finally decides to act. Britain launches a massive trade mission to China led by statesman and diplomat Lord George Macartney. His task: fix an empire's entire trade deficit in one meeting. Macartney is told to persuade the emperor to buy British goods instead of just draining silver, and if possible, to secure Britain its own trading base on Chinese soil. Britain is confident. It is the first nation on Earth to industrialize, and it believes its power now rivals even China's. In September of 1792, Macartney departs with 700 soldiers and servants, musicians, and lavish gifts, including a planetarium and a gold box encrusted with diamonds. Nearly a year later, Macartney finally reaches China, only to learn the emperor isn't even in the capital. He has moved 200 miles north, beyond the Great Wall. That emperor is Qianlong. Nearly 50 years on the throne, and in his 80s, one of the greatest rulers in Chinese history, and fiercely proud of it. Macartney is placed in a long queue of ambassadors from across the empire's frontiers, each one bringing tribute to be received, not negotiated with. Every ambassador is expected to kneel and touch their head to the floor 9 times. Macartney refuses, dropping to one knee instead, a quiet act of defiance. Gifts are exchanged, pleasantries traded, even a young British interpreter charms the court with his fluent Mandarin. None of it will matter. Qianlong's written reply to King George III is crushing. China, he says, lacks nothing and has no need of anything Britain produces. To Qianlong, Britain's king is not an equal, but a subordinate ruler paying respect to the true Son of Heaven. The embassy is a complete failure. Worse, Qianlong warns that force will meet any British ship trading outside the single port of Canton and lines up his troops along the coast to prove it. Macartney sails home empty-handed and humiliated. British opinion of China flips overnight, from admiration to mockery in the era's popular cartoons. McCartney himself later calls China an old warship, still floating but already drifting toward the breaker's yard. It is a chillingly accurate prophecy. If you're already surprised one rejected meeting could set an empire on a collision course, subscribe, because the real mechanic is still ahead. Despite the humiliation, Britain has no real choice. It quietly accepts China's terms and keeps trading, one port, one silver drain at a time. And Canton itself is thriving. Fed by tea, silk, and porcelain flowing out and silver flooding in, it becomes one of the richest, most cosmopolitan cities on the planet. It is the true nexus of global trade, decades before anyone would use that word. People from every corner of the world flock here to do business. Here's the pattern interrupt. Canton isn't just a port. Its workshops are mass-producing goods, custom built for foreign taste, an entire economy built to please outsiders. Chinese silversmiths in Canton produce silverware of such unparalleled skill that people abroad admire wire spun as thin as a single strand of hair. But these craftsmen also imitate and undercut Western silversmiths directly, producing near-identical flatware for a fraction of the price. The silver itself costs the same. The difference is labor, infinitely cheaper in Canton, a 200-year-old preview of a very modern anxiety. Every merchant who arrives in Canton faces the same maze: which language to speak, which currency to trade in, how to navigate rules with no manual and no school to teach it. This is the golden thread running through the whole story. One metal mined in the Andes, taxed in Beijing, and spent in Canton, stitching the entire world into a single economy for the first time in history. But underneath all that glitter, one wound never heals. Britain is still hemorrhaging silver into China every single year, and Canton's wealth is being built on someone else's growing deficit. Britain needs to find one thing, anything, the Chinese market will actually buy besides silver. Wool failed, cotton failed, clocks and gadgets barely register. That desperate search for the one product China cannot refuse is the hinge this whole empire is about to swing on, and what Britain eventually settles on will not just balance a ledger, it will ignite a war. This is the timeless mechanic hiding inside this whole story. Whoever controls what a nation is forced to pay in controls that nation far more than any army ever could. China learned that lesson early and ruled the world's trade for it. Britain learned it the hard way, and the bill for that lesson was about to come due. So tell me in the comments, if you were Britain in that room, staring at an emperor who wanted nothing you had, what would you have tried to sell next? Thomas, rendered in a flat, thick, black outline vector cartoon style, hard edge flat colors, no blended shading, no gradients, a simple minimalist stickman body, warm tan skin, a flat round orange tan head with simple thick black eyebrows, and simple round black dot eyes, a navy blue fedora with a thin gold band, a navy blue three-piece suit with white shirt and navy tie, navy blue trousers, a slim black cane with a gold tip, tipping his fedora with a confident half smile, standing before the same glowing Andes to Canton golden thread map from the opening. If that changed how you see a headline, that's the like button. Subscribe for the next thread, because next time, we follow that silver all the way into the war it caused. Style: flat, thick, black outline vector cartoon, solid flat color fills, no blended or gradient shading, no photoreal, no 3D, no painterly texture, character identity locked to reference image, no text, no logos, no speech bubbles, no decorative border. 1920 x 1080, 16:9.